Hit me. Go on.
Guess what I did last weekend, Boat?
What did you do last weekend?
Last weekend, me and Tree went to Braxton County, West Virginia.
Now, is Braxton County sort of an urban landscape with lots of big cities?
No, not at all. It is the middle of nowhere, then you make a right, and you go further. And it is the geographical center of West Virginia. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, Braxton County.
Interesting.
It's the geographical center of the state. We went there for the world premiere of the Small Town Monsters production of the documentary about the Braxton County Monster.
Really?
Yes. The Braxton County Monster is also known as the Green Monster, and it's also known as the Flatwoods Monster. It's got 3 names.
Oh.
And so we got there early. We went to the Flatwoods Monster Museum, which is in Sutton, which is basically right down the street from Flatwoods. Which is awesome. And get this, who's the guy running the museum? The same guy who runs CharCon, which is the local gaming, the big board gaming festival that we have in Charleston. But the museum is real neat. We had a good time there. That's him. So I don't know what that Captain Catfish is. But we had a good time there. They had lots of props and...
Now, if you look at like the Braxton County Monster versus our other favorite monster from West Virginia, Mothman, does Mothman have more of a following?
Yes, absolutely. But Braxton County's on the rise. We should call them the Flatwoods Monster. I think that's the preferred name of them now. But I grew up, and it's actually sort of changed. The documentary ended up being sort of about that, which I'll get to that in a minute. But we went to the museum and spent a good amount of while there. Teresa got a couple shirts. She got me a Flatwoods Monster shot glass and some stuff for Luke. She got a necklace. They had earrings. They had a bunch of crazy stuff there. All of it Flatwoods Monster related.
Sure.
Then we went to eat. There's a place called The Spot, and The Spot is very close to where the encounter with the Braxton County Monster, the Flatwoods Monster, was. And it's a monster-related restaurant. It's got about 6 chairs in it, and it's exactly like the Dairy Freeze in Winfield, if you've ever been there.
Many times.
It's much smaller, but the same sort of menu, except it's all monster-related. And you can get Mothman burger and a
Flatwoods Monster shake.
That's right, the Bigfoot, whatever. And they get all different stuff. And they have a little gift shop there as well, and Tree got some stuff there. And then we had a couple hours to kill, and what they've done here, and this is quite brilliant, a local artist went and made 5 big chairs, like 2 or 3 people could get in them at once.
Kind of like you see outside of like big truck stops and stuff, like when you go visiting.
Sure. And they put these all over the area. There's 5 of them, and you can visit each one. There's a map. And so we spent the day getting pictures of us sitting in each of the chairs, and they're usually they're quite scenic. Some of them, there's one at the Big Days Inn Convention Center. There's one at the park.
I think there's a picture of that.
That's one of them right there. That's one of them. Yeah. There's one at the right beside the restaurant. There's one beside the Dairy Queen. They're real nice. We got pictures of all those, which was fun. That took a couple hours.
You got a Shoney's right there in the background too.
There's a restaurant in Flatwoods that is super pricey. It's a super elite rich guy restaurant. I don't know why it's there. It's in this old mansion. It's a bed and breakfast. And they've got one there. It's right beside the river, so that was neat to go there.
Did you guys eat at the fancy mansion?
No. $20 hamburger, too rich for my blood. We ate at the Spot, which was, trust me, I still dropped $26 on that meal, but it was still. So then we went to the actual Sutton Theater, historic Sutton Theater, and we had ordered tickets ahead of time, which is good because they sold out the theater, which is unbelievable. I mean, it's a big theater for West Virginia. It's a good-sized theater. And we went in, and the director was there. The people in the documentary were all there, and we watched them. It was about a 45-minute documentary on the Braxton County Monster, and it was really interesting. And the part of the gimmick on it was they were going to talk about what actually happened, and then what it evolved into from myth-wise. Mm-hmm. And of all the UFO encounters or Bigfoots, this is actually one of the more credible ones. because it was seen by a lot of people, and they've stuck to their story, and some of them are still alive. It happened in the 50s. This predates Mothman by a decade or more. But it was the story is these kids are playing in a field. They saw a meteor fly overhead. They went to get their mom. They walked up on the hill where this was at. This ain't super deep in the woods. It's just like it's a city street, but it's in the hill. Mm-hmm. And they went up there and they saw a creature coming out of a tree, kind of at them. It's sort of like the bottom half of it was sort of shaped like a missile, and it had those little like clawed hands, and it had sort of they called it upside down, like it was like an ace of spades behind its head, and it had like a red head, like yellow eyes, something like that. And this thing sort of came at them, and they ran off, got the sheriff, and the local. They ended up bringing in the National Guard up there, sealed off the area, whole 9 yards. It was pretty interesting. And so, what was it? Who knows?
Now, what after a time, what did the story evolve into?
This thing had acidic breath. It killed the dog that was with him. It had did a bunch of it showed up multiple times.
So the original Braxton County Monster or Flatwoods Monster story only one appearance.
Right. It never came. It's not like the Mothman. It was there once.
Okay.
It never came back. And it's been beefed up a lot. It had laser eyes and crap. But it's a pretty interesting tale. It's not one you hear too much about. It's big in Japan. There's the Braxton County Monster. The image of him has actually appeared in a Zelda game.
Really? There's
a Zelda game. I think it's. I don't know which one it is, but there's one where you have to go to this farm because this girl is being hassled by aliens, and those are the aliens in it. They're in the game.
How cool!
And it's in some other games too. It's in some shooters.
So the Braxton County Monster is in the public domain.
Yeah. Okay. Completely. What are you going to do?
Right.
But it was interesting. It was an interesting film, and afterwards they had a Q&A with all the actors, which was interesting. So we had a real good time.
That's great.
So that's my story number one. What do you got?
Nothing. Move on to story number two.
What, what did you do last weekend?
We got ready for the Athens Jazz Festival with
How
my
was
middle
that?
school band. We're going on Saturday.
Oh, it hasn't happened
It
yet.
hasn't happened.
The Athens Jazz Festival.
So I'm loading up 32 middle school kids in a bus and taking them to Athens, Ohio.
Are you driving the bus?
I wish I could drive the bus. But
I was going to say, because if you're not, I would grab one of those bottles and just kind of stick it deliberately in the back of your pants.
Yeah, this is the biggest trip that we've taken in the 5 years that I've been.
A middle school band trip.
Yeah.
Man, that never happened to me.
Yeah, so I'm excited. I think it's going to go well, but we'll see. I'll have more to report on that when we get back.
I don't think I've talked about this on the show, and you know this story, but I had quite a windfall of classic computer equipment, as you know. I had a friend of mine whom I used to babysit for call me up about, it's been 2 weeks ago, I think, Boat.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, listen, he said, my grandfather has passed away 4 years ago, and my grandmother's cleaning out all of his stuff. And would you like to have, he had a couple Atari computers. Would you like to go get them? And I was like, sure, I'll go get them. I'll take them, giving them away. Because me and him, he got me into Atari. I used to babysit him. They had an Atari 400 and they had an Atari 800, and we would play, we played Blue Max and Vanguard and Zaxxon, everything else you could think of. We used to play, all the stuff I played was because it was there. So I thought, okay, great. So we went over there, and me and Luke went. She just lived right over behind the middle school. Went out, went into walked up, said hi, and they're like, listen, you might want to back your Jeep up over here. I was like, uh-oh. And 9 boxes of stuff later, I was filling up the arcade with box after box of classic Atari stuff. And I got so much stuff, I called Bo. I was like, listen, come on over and look at this stuff. And
I happily stopped fixing my lawnmower to do that.
So what did you think of that load of stuff?
Like I told you, the first thing I told you when I walked in, I said, I'm so glad that this happened to you and not me, because I would have kept every single piece of that.
It was quite a windfall of stuff. And deciding what to keep and what to get rid of has not been the easiest task, because I'm like Bo, if I had the space, I'd probably keep all of it. But some of the stuff in there was like manuals, old software. And so some of it I've just been eBaying off over the past week. And I have found out that there is a market for the weirdest stuff. Mm-hmm. I'll give you some examples. one of the things that sold immediately was a graphics generating bit of software. It was rated 9 out of 10 on Amiga Mania, which is apparently a respected Amiga grading site and a rarity site. This thing went for like, I believe it sold for $60 or $70. I had an old game that was just called Soccer, I believe, but it was complete. It was the disc version, and it went for like $70 or $80 as well. So, but even some stuff that you would never think would sell. I had an A+ government learning tool. You know, it was just like to learn about the government, like a teaching thing. These guys were teachers. They had a lot of stuff for school kids. Mm-hmm. You know, and even something like that has sold. Another guy bought how to learn French, and it was a French guy that bought it, which I thought was strange.
It is. How strange.
So the educational stuff is sort of in vogue, I think, to a certain degree.
Well, I think that for collectors that already have everything, you know, what's left? That stuff.
Well, you know, it was quite a bit. And the funny thing is, if you looking through these books and stuff, the fellow that owned all this stuff had left notes in a lot of it. He had, of course, some of the books he'd went through and highlighted and circled stuff. He had put index cards in a lot of stuff, and he had. This guy was a programmer for sure. He had a bunch of discs that he had worked on. I haven't decided what to do with those yet. I should probably try to archive. But I don't know what's personal and what's not. You know, I've got no way to archive them myself really. So I haven't. You know, I'll talk to somebody about it. But it was quite a windfall of goodies that I've been fooling.
You know,
about.
I've long suspected that those neighborhoods behind the middle school that's a honey hole right there, because you've got some older people that live back there that have not moved.
Yeah.
And that would be a good place. You know, yard sales are mostly dead, but that might be a good place to check out once summer gets here.
I did have a talk with his grandson that the guy I used to babysit for, and we talked for a couple hours on the phone the night I got that stuff. And he told me all about it. What his granddad had done was bought everyone in the family Ataris. That was their machine. Mm-hmm. And so he'd bought everyone Ataris, and as they upgraded their Ataris, they would give him back the old ones.
Oh,
and so
okay.
he ended up, that's why he's got 2 400s, an 800, a couple Atari 800 XLs. Mm-hmm. And I guess as they got new drives, it would give like the tape drives back. So he's got 3 or 4 tape drives, you know, and a bunch of crazy peripherals for the Atari, including stuff like game show controllers, which I'd never seen before.
No.
The old koala pad in the box. The koala pads, I mean, they drew the crap out of it. You could tell it had been used to death, but I got one of those in a box. And a keypad, a numeric keypad, which I thought was pretty unusual. So a lot of crazy stuff, plus a bunch of joysticks. Which Boat took home a couple of his favorites.
Gym sticks, baby.
They pre-chewed. He'll have to chew them later. And what was that software that you wanted?
Oh yeah, there's an old edutainment title that I had when I was a lad called Creature Creator.
Creature Creator.
Yeah.
And there was some games in there, some cartridges, mostly generic stuff. They did have Miner 2049er in there, which is pretty cool.
Oh, yeah.
So it was a real nice windfall of goodies. For me, so I'm still kind of looking through it to kind of, ascertain values and see what, Atari stuff. I mean, I'll have to say, the software has aged well from a price perspective. It's sought after, I guess, because the Atari name is involved.
Right.
And it would be as nice as it would be to get a big stash of Amiga stuff. That's almost an impossibility to hear. Mm-hmm. So Atari is probably as close as we're going to come. And you can forget getting ZX Spectrum stuff or anything like that. Can you imagine a big stash of Timex Sinclair stuff? I wouldn't know what to do with it.
Well, I'd be like, look, I've got one of these things nobody else has.
Yeah, it would be crazy.
It can't run the games.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been an interesting couple weeks. We're going to see pro wrestling Friday, which should be fun, and I think we're going to see it again on the 24th on a Saturday in Ironton, so that'll be a good time. And summer's finally here, and we've been cold for a long time, so it's nice to be nice and warm and pretty out there, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to stay that way, but
did you say your mower's broke?
Yeah, I've never done any maintenance on it since I bought it, so I've got to change all the filters and everything. So
I never did any on mine either.
Yeah.
Mine mower's interesting because we got it from a guy for like $25 or $50. You know the little gear shift on a mower that makes it go faster or slower? Nah, it just goes. You know those kind of mowers where you fire them up and they'll move for you.
Self-propelled.
Right. This one has that, but it's always stuck at full throttle.
So you're running behind it.
So old dopey me, my neighbors take pity on me. They see me out there, then they think they're to kill me because this thing drags me all over the yard. But I get done quick. But man, it's crazy. That could be a show. I could just film me mowing.
That would be an awesome
My brother
show.
used to bring his industrial size mega mower over. But when I got the fence installed, it won't fit to the gate. So I'm on my own.
Well, it's going to be an interesting summer for me because, as you know, I have this 75-foot tree that's fallen across the back of my yard. It's not exactly going to be easy to mow around.
I would just let nature reclaim them.
Yeah, 200 or 300 years, it'll be gone.
Let me ask you, how often do you go into your backyard?
Never.
Except for mowing, right?
That's the only time I'm back there.
So what have we learned?
Right.
Listen, when I lived on Mud Mountain, I had trees falling. I had crap going on everywhere. Man, if it wasn't on my porch, I didn't cut it. And then if it was on the porch, I had a sword. I would go and man, can you imagine? I just thought about how stupid that must look. Me in a bathrobe, whacking this tree with a sword.
Is this a full-size katana?
No, it's a full-size sword. It was like
a long sword?
When I worked for that Kung Fu master.
Is this Sensei Dan?
This is Dan. When I worked for Dan, I did computer work for a guy. He didn't have any money, so he paid me in swords. And this was a sword that it's a wooden handle. It's a huge sword. It was to use as mount. I think it's quite old, but it's to be used from a horseback. It's a real long.
Really? Wow.
And so I would take that out and just whack the crap out of these because I had a good reach on them. I had a samurai sword that I did that with, but I broke it one day. When I was whacking a limb and I hit a rock and it broke and it went ching and the blade actually stuck into my the railing of my stairs.
Did you just leave it lay? Did you leave it stuck in there?
I don't remember what I did with it, to be honest with you. It doesn't matter because the railing got knocked down when I moved the video game down the stairs. So Mud Mountain, this is the time of year where it's quite lovely up there.
Yeah, maybe you should drive up there tonight after we finish.
No, I'm not going to be doing that. I'm not going to be doing that.
You ever take Luke up to the mountain and show him?
He's never been up to the mountain.
Oh.
I should take him up there. My uncle lives up there now, so that'd be kind of fun to go up there. But no, we haven't been up there for quite a while. I visited my uncle up there one time, and that's the only time I've been up there. So, did I tell you that I managed to sell my other uncle's or my relative's pinball machine? Did I tell you I finally got that sold?
No, because I'd seen that it had been on Facebook for a little bit.
I had, after several misstarts, it's amazing how much action I got on my Facebook page. People bugging me nonstop everywhere I went. And finally, this old guy, one of my friends that live in the valley, who's a pinball guy, he's listening because I sent this old guy to you. He wants a pinball machine, see if you can get some action. And the guy no-showed me once, but he called me back. He said, I'm going to come and look at it. So I never, ever was involved in this physically. I was just doing all the dumb guy work. And I told my uncle, I was like, listen, don't take anything less than $550 for it because you paid $450. You need to make a few bucks so you got a good deal. You got $550 out of it. So he made it $100.
Fantastic.
So that was my good deed. That was my good deed for the day. I've been blabbing for a while. You got to have something to talk about.
I really don't have anything to talk about. I guess I could talk about I went back to martial arts this past week.
Yeah, let's talk about that, man. Tell them what the martial art is.
So when about 12 years ago, when I lived in Newport News, Virginia, I started studying Iaido and Kendo, which are the two Japanese sword-based martial arts. Iaido is a solo practiced art. You're using a katana. And Kendo is a not solo martial art where you wear armor and you whack the crap out of each other with a stick. So then I moved to Korea and I studied a Korean sword martial art called Gumdo. Okay, and Gumdo kind of borrows a lot from Kenjutsu, which is a sort of related sword martial art in Japan, but Koreans will never admit that. They have a history with the Japanese. Anyway, when I moved back here, all of that stuff went in the closet, and I never picked up a sword again or anything like that. And so I started exercising and stuff again, and I was like, well, I've got to have a practical purpose for trying to get in shape. I can't just be in shape just for the heck of it. So I'm going to go back. I really enjoyed Iaido, and we're lucky because there's only one place around that teaches Iaido. There's no place that does kendo. The closest place that does kendo is either Columbus or Louisville.
I'm surprised because kendo seems like it'd be more of a likely to find than Idaho.
You would think that. You would think that, but there's not. So, but I re-enrolled in the same place where I used to take Taekwondo as a boy, and this place called USA Martial Arts Training Center, and I took my first class on Saturday. And I loved it. It was great. It was just like being back in Newport News. Iaido is a very cerebral martial art because you never have an opponent. It's not practical at all. People get onto it. They say, "Well, it's not practical." Well, duh, it's not. When are you going to get in a sword fight in real life? So this is a very it's based on kind of what samurai would do when they were attacked, but it's very stylized and or pared down depending on the situation. But I like it because it's just like music. Every single part of it can be perfected. There's a proper way to do everything from, when you take the sword out to the way you put it back in. Everything is very exact. And I like that sort of cerebralness about it. So anyway, I've started, my last week was my first class. I won't be there this weekend because I'm taking the jazz band to Athens, but I'll be back in a week's time. Looking forward to it.
Not too bad.
Yeah.
Not too bad. The kid had his first baseball game. When was it? It was Tuesday. But he had a practice on Saturday. And it was so cold that only 2 other kids showed up and no other dads.
Oh, wow.
So I had to go out and be assistant coach. And trying to stab a ball, an errant throw, I twisted things in my body that I don't know what they are. And I've been in agony for the past several days.
Oh.
So I'm guessing I pulled something. I zigged when I should have zagged. And listening to your tale about martial arts makes me feel all the more pathetic for not being able to play, to go out and play a couple hours of baseball without dying. So I probably had to get my act together.
I tell you what, man, we need to start working out together.
Oh, God.
Amigos Gym. I'm making the T-shirts right now.
Oh, don't do it, man. Does the gym have a big thing full of donuts in it?
We can make it happen.
That'd be fine. I'm not fun to work out with or be with when I'm trying to lose weight. I become much grumpier, angrier person, which is one of the reasons I don't do it very often. The lack of willpower being the other reason.
You had a Y membership there for a while, didn't you?
Yes, for a while, briefly. I don't like working out at the Y. Well, to be honest with you, when we had it, it just didn't jive with my schedule. You know how it is. I come home from work and it's go time, so I just never could go.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We let the kids swim there sometimes, but I very rarely ever got to go. Got to go.
I'm very lucky in that it's right on my way home, so I literally go past it.
Yeah.
So
they have started that huge construction in front of where we live, and so everything's going to be a chore for the next year. Our roads are it's like moon patrol. You need that moon buggy to get around, and so they finally gotten around to paving the roads, but they've paved the most busy, worst possible place they could pave. It's the one they're going to do, and so it's going to really inconvenience us for a while.
Well, when you say the most busy, worst possible place, you just mean in relation to you and me.
Well, no, I mean that stretch of I-64 is in West Virginia is one of the most traveled roads there. It may be the most traveled road,
which is why it's in such rough shape.
Right, but I'm just saying it's very well traveled, which means there's going to be a lot of traffic, which means it's going to be very inconvenient. So.
Yeah. Now you're coming from the opposite direction, so I guess you haven't experienced it coming towards Hurricane.
Oh yeah, I have.
From Charleston.
No. God only knows.
Yeah.
What that's like. But I've experienced that plenty of times in my old job.
Yeah.
Man, there's nothing worse than sitting in traffic. It's the worst.
Yeah.
I like the fact that some guy is in his Cadillac in Leeds, listening to us talk about how horrible it is to be in traffic, and he's in traffic. So who was it that sent that in earlier?
That's Mr. Threepwood.
Mr. Threepwood, there you go.
Yeah.
Good luck, brother. We're with you in spirit, man.
All right, Aaron. I feel like we've meandered along this path long enough. Let's close it on down.
Next week, the wrestling report will be back.
That's right.
It's going to be awesome.
Wait. Maybe we'll even do a little Amigos wrestling.
We might just wrestle right here. I might put you through this table, depending on my mood.
Basement wrestling. That's a new thing. It's
not
the
a
next
new thing.
evolution.
That's not a new thing. Unfortunately, it would be a different thing because usually it's something you buy in the back pages of something. Let's not call it that. That's horrible.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Adios. See everybody in the chat.